One of my days. Control.
No, good, thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the work session meeting for Minnetrista on March 17th, 2025. Present are this evening, we have Assistant City Administrator Allie Paulus. We have Director of Public Works, Gary Peters. Alan Popsky is with WSB, our city engineer. And then council present, we have Brad. We have a new name. You have a new name. We have Brian Govern and we say Claudia Lacey is absent, Peter Vickery is absent, and Kathleen Webkin is here, I'm here, and then we have Jennifer Krugel and Brian Grimm, and then also sitting in for Chief Bowles this evening is Deputy Chief Greg Squires. So with that, I have 3 items, I believe, on our agenda. We're first going to talk about the USA Security Certification, and then Milo Training System, and then our 2026 Street Improvement Project. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jasper.
Thank you, Mayor Wayland, rest of the City Council. As the mayor said, we have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is the security and key card access system that we have. We currently have a system, not exactly the best quality. I guess technology has increased significantly since 2016. Running into some issues with our server being end of life, software being end of life, those types of things. So essentially the goals of tonight regarding this is we'd like direction from City Council on how to proceed. There's a couple different options. We can pair this with a bond sale as an equipment certificate. This year with the water treatment plant, we can do it next year with a road project. Likely, I'm kind of maybe jumping to conclusion, but likely the recommendation would be an equipment certificate for something like this. A couple of additional things that, we'd be securing some of our water infrastructure sites that currently don't have this technology there. So there's a couple different things here. We have a couple different representatives here today that have a little presentation to talk you through what we have, what we're recommending to be the current system to be replaced with. So with that, I'll have Chris Daniels come up here, and Allie, if you can queue up his, what do you got? I think this is your screen here, isn't it? Yeah. I believe that's your screen, right?
Do I have it open twice?
There, you can try it again. She'll share her screen again. I think we're co-organizers now, so I think that. No, either her or I can share screens. That's all good. Let me see here. So this is your screen.
You just want to open it on yours?
Yeah. Let's see here. Give me 1 second.
I have a hard time opening emails.
Yeah, give me a second.
Where's IT when you need him, right?
Right here.
Did you put that in that folder, Allie? Okay, cool. Bear with me.
Hey, you got 1 more minute.
Sorry.
And today's date. Unclear. Okay. 1 second, I don't know why. It's also sharing Ally's screen.
No,
That's me.
Oh, that's you, you got it. He's got it already, look at this.
I was gonna say, why can't this just be that?
Watch this.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just
Just had to hit a button.
And I'm weird, and I keep my phones, okay.
This,
All right,
right, this, sorry.
yeah, we're recording, so.
All about that, right, good job. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Chris Daniels. I'm with USA Security. I was here 9 years ago and did this whole presentation for a whole different group of people, so. But
It's more than 9 years, then.
it was right at 9.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was there, but I don't remember, okay.
I run Erasmus with me with Verkada. Verkada is the software and hardware package that I would like to talk to you about or at least make a recommendation as we kind of move through where you guys are right now. So surveillance and security update path for the city.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, there we go. So 2016, we started working with you guys. USA Security, we were hired by the city under Chief Paul Falls to revamp. You have a very old antiquated access control video system. So we upgraded that, brought that to digital, put in a 32 terabyte video server with expansion or future expansion, which ironically you guys never took advantage of. We haven't added or improved to that system since 2016. There's some weird years on here, so I'll try and keep this brief, but just show you where we are. In 2016, Microsoft was running Windows Server 2012, which was on that machine. It was end of life in 2023, so I can't do anything with Windows Server 2012, which you got. You guys purchased a Vigilon Access Control software, that's ACC version 5. That was end of life in 2018. So what we did for you guys was regular maintenance and repair upon request, but anytime it was discussed to maybe do some of these updates along with camera purchases, that never went any further than discussion. So your video server's kind of in a time capsule right now. Fast forward to now, why are we here right now? Both public safety and city hall have some cameras that are down, and also cameras that are just not performing at all, and both got together and reached out, hey, can you look at replacing some of these cameras? So that's how we got down this road. Also, there's some pending DOC regulations that PD isn't going to be able to achieve with the current camera system. So you bring those things together, and it's time for a refresh. So I came out in January, we looked at some camera improvements. Analog cameras, which you currently have, are becoming harder and harder to find, almost impossible to find. And your current video system can't put new cameras on it because, as we said, the software is cool. So where are we? We're in a replace mode. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight, is what's the way to go. So working with Deputy Chief Squires and Allie, we put together a kind of, okay, we got to replace the server and we have all these very old cameras. What should we do? Well, let's just do a quick thumb rule to replace all of that with digital and modern. And that came out to $124,000. And Allie and I are on the same track of, you guys are moving everything to the cloud anyway. What would it look like to just do these cameras at these two buildings just on the cloud just for comparison? So that's what the Verkada system, that was $109,000. Just as a purely looking at just getting your video systems up to date, nothing else. What that's come into is what we're talking about now is full citywide. So with, and I'll get to I can show you some of this. With the surveillance upgrade, we can bring the cameras and the access control into the same platform, so the people who operate the front desks can see the camera in the card reader at the same time letting people in. You can do it remotely. For water treatment plants, we can tie in the alarm for sensors into the cameras as well. So it takes your systems, where right now you have 2 or 3 different systems, and turns it into one system that anybody who has login can operate across the board. Way cleaner to use, way easier to use, long-term, way easier to expand. So moving off of a server system, one of the downfalls of a server system like you guys have now is you have a single point of failure. which if this thing goes down, the whole system goes down, which starts at like $20,000, and depending on our scalability, could be a much more expensive piece of hardware. So we want to get rid of that as a liability. Excuse me. That's one of the spots we're in now at PD where if that server goes down today, they do not have a camera system over the police department. And we would be on a loaner system and a replace system where they're going to be operating for weeks without a camera system. And moving to a cloud system would eliminate that potential in the future. So in a cloud-based system, there's no central hardware. Everything is its own. So every camera has its own onboard storage, the access control panels live. The data lives on the panel and communicates via cloud interface. So if any one piece of that system goes down, you only lose that piece until we can get out and repair it. Where, as you sit right now, you have an end-of-life server running your whole surveillance system for the city. So as we looked at, okay, if we are going to do the full city, what else might we want to do? Public Works doesn't have anything. Water treatment only has card readers but no cameras. None of the well houses or the water towers have access control or cameras. DHS is going to start to get far more involved in water towers and water treatment centers. So along with DOC regs that are coming down, while nothing's been in concrete yet, we're anticipating a lot more DHS regs too. And so this will get you guys ahead of that. And so it starts to come down by now adding card access, intercoms, and surveillance to those water towers. Also included in this, we reached out to AE2S about your SCADA system at the water treatment and water towers to see if we can piggyback on that for data. We cannot. So included here is also LTE service for those, for the well house and the water towers, so that data can get to the cloud without you guys having to bring designated internet into the water towers. So it's a full package. Breakdown here of what each building would be independently with a bundle for a savings in total. A little bit more about just kind of where you guys are, where we want to go. For those of you that are interested, this is what you have now: cameras running to servers with tons and tons of storage, and then we've got to get that both online and offline. It becomes quite a bit to manage, both from a hardware cost standpoint and from IT standpoint. Where with going to a cloud system, specifically the Mercado system that we want to talk about, the devices are cloud native. You plug them in, and you guys can operate them from any device. So it's app based and browser based, so we can log in from special software to do it like you do now. So far more responsive for PD in an emergency. If something happens and they're not at PD, they can still get the video. Can equip officers with an app for mobile device as well if they need to see what's happening in the community. Longer term, this isn't anything we talked about, but it came up earlier with road projects. We do work with City of Waconia. They're doing a major downtown improvement project on the streets where they want to put cameras on the intersections of some of their major streets. With this cloud system, it becomes very easy to do that because if you don't have proper power and data, we can do solar and we can do LTE or info post. So it can be, it's very easy to expand this. You don't have to think about what's everything we might want to do today. This is a very expandable perspective. So it sets you up for the next 10 years in a way that the last time we did this did not. So just some future proofing. Like I said, we're going to extend coverage to public works, water treatment, and water towers. Pending DOC regulations for low light, no light, 4 megapixel minimum, which you guys do not have now. Privacy masking, and then blind spots. So like we have a demo camera going right now in one of the holding rooms where previously it's a corner camera. So if you're too close to the wall, you can hide from the camera. We've got a fisheye in there. Same in the booking room. You have a table in that booking room right now where you could potentially be off camera. We're going to do fisheyes in there. So 100% coverage in all the rooms to apply with DOC regs. And then further down the line, I don't think this is set in stone, but there's conversation about migrating to a different version of body camera, and this Mercado platform integrates with that body camera video home for chain of custody. So from a PD, future-proofing the EV standpoint, we're looking beyond today, beyond tomorrow, but for the next 3, 5, 10 years with the system. I can dive deeper into the software if you'd like. I can dive deeper into some of the layouts of the buildings if you like, or I can just answer questions, or I can do whatever you guys want me to do from here.
Questions?
For a cloud system, what would the, so $30,000, is that setup fee or would that be the yearly maintenance?
That's pretty yearly, so I can show you this. So there's licenses. This is data, LTE data as well. This is LTE data built in.
And I'll add, we have a, well, you don't really like FirstNet after
I
talking to me
don't
today.
like first.
But we have a contract with FirstNet, which we could integrate into this
Yes.
system and
But you
probably get a
probably
little bit better deal.
integrate
You could, but I think we get preferred pricing
Yeah.
for what they would use it for.
So this is right now kind of based on what we've put together. This is our annual, we have 1, 3, 5-year licensing options. There's a license per device. Every camera, every card reader, every intercom. You guys have Panic hardware here, so the alarm, and then the LTE data packages for the 2 water towers and well house.
So are you saying we would pay $285
Every year.
and then you'd pay $249?
All these are your
It's a
options.
3-year.
These would be your licensing, so
Oh, I
upon the
see.
initial
All
purchase, then your renewals would be, these would be your renewal options for software coverage per year. So you'd be at either 28 a year or 73 every 3 years or 120 every 5 years.
right. Okay.
With these being licensed, if lightning strikes one or it gets damaged, is that ours to repair or is that?
If you want lightning.
All of our products are covered under a 10-year warranty.
Yeah, so I knew that, but I wasn't sure about anything specific. So, one of the advantages, the system you guys have now is a Motorola system. It's 5 years because it's a Dell server ran through Motorola. Most of this hardware on-prem server-based systems, you're not going to warranty that for 5 years. It's going to end of life in like 4. But as Ryan said, what's awesome about Verkada is all the hardware is a 10-year license. So anything happens to that piece of hardware, you call USA Security, you come get it, box it up, just open up an RMA, get you a new one, it's covered. As long as it's licensed, it's covered. So this becomes also your warranty package. So you're not getting, they just released their Series 3 cameras. 6 years from now, they're not gonna be on Series 3, and when the camera goes down, you're getting version 9 or whatever. We're not digging in the archives to find an old camera. We're just gonna give you the current one. So it's an upgrade path too. It keeps you current.
And how long has this business been around for?
Us or Verkada?
I guess whoever's going to be running the cameras in the background.
In the background, that'd be, what, 8 years?
We started in 2016.
Okay, so as long as your camera system's been here.
Okay. Well, my only concern is, I'm sure you see in the media where you buy something,
I
a
guess.
Spotify
Yeah.
card thing, and
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
virus.
Yep. So I've been in the security industry for 20 years. If something happened with Verkada where they got weak enough that was a problem, someone would buy them. Motorola would buy them, or Pelican would buy them, or Genentech would buy them, or Schneider Electric would buy them. I can't tell you it's not gonna happen, but it would be wildly unlikely. They haven't, what's your guess, what huge market cap are you, right?
Yeah, and we're actually considered one of the fastest growing security companies in the world because we started in 2016, we're already a worldwide company. So we've had tremendous growth, and it's because we have a different approach where we're not on-prem, cloud connected, it's future-proof. And just to add what Chris said regarding the licensing terms, it's for your 10-year warranty, but also because it's always connected, your system is going to continually get better and better. If you receive any firmware updates that are released, you're not paywall behind features, your system is going to continue to improve. As your phone getting updates, some cars get updates, your security system will get updates as well.
What other countries are you in?
We are worldwide. We're in London. We have offices in London, Mexico, Taiwan, we're in full Asia. So we have businesses that we work with and cities and schools we work with all around the world.
Why Verkada versus another provider?
So our company, we have three cloud options. We have Motorola, we have Promise, we have Verkada. Verkada is, they're already so far ahead of the other two in terms of full integration and full offering, that they're the only one I can come up here and tell you, you're gonna get one login, your users are gonna get one login, and it's gonna give you your access, your video, your alarms, your intercoms, your cellular. If we were to go to things like vape sensors in some public spaces, anything that we could put on the system, it's one login. If I were to tell you that with Rhombus or Motorola, you need a dashboard for this, you need a different dashboard for this, you need a different dashboard for this. These don't even talk to each other properly. They're just that much further ahead of the game. I also, because I do sell all three of them, I know who's where, and I already beat these guys up pretty bad to get them where Motorola is, because Motorola is a little less expensive. But I didn't want to come in with an inferior product when I knew a superior product existed. And so I got with Ryan's team, I said, hey, listen, let's see what Motorola would put as a price for this product. So you guys get there, and they got there. And so when all things are equal, Verkada is clear the head and shoulders choice. And I can get into some of this if you'd like to. But it really is, they make all the products. So on like a Rhombus or a Motorola, they're gonna say, well, we integrate with this other product, but it's a whole other vendor. And if somebody changes a firmware or a software, then the integration's broken. And then you have users at your front desk who are used to something working a certain way and now it doesn't. Where because Verkada makes all the products and the back end integration is the same across, it's they're not gonna update an intercom and not have it work with the camera because they manufacture items. They don't have, they're beholden to their entire stack, where if I'm on the roll and I just have my camera and my card access, but I third party this intercom, well, I don't really have to know, oh shoot, they did an update, now I can fix it. Where with Verkada, it's all the same backend, so they don't have to worry about technically now.
I'm not an IT person, don't ask me. But I guess my bigger question is cost.
Yeah,
Well, and for the amount of money, I would expect us to get some quotes from other companies, no offense, just to, price it out and make sure that everyone's in the same ballpark and everyone's offering the same level, not opposed to getting a new system and building the budget and everything, but get a lot more options.
Absolutely, and, the initial goal of today is just to bring this to your attention. It might be new to some of you. It was kind of new to me when this was brought to my attention probably 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago, so we had to move fairly quickly. It's somewhat concerning, but really if the direction is to continue down this path, as far as the financing piece goes, I think I talked about that, likely an equipment certificate in 25 or 26. As far as quoting goes, I believe I was talking to Chris a little bit about this beforehand, about how they did this in 2016. They actually helped build the bid package. Because we need an expert to help with the bid package, and there aren't many vendors out there. So we have to build the bid package based on what kind of we want, and then get it out to the vendors. And if it's a bid or a quote, we have to determine that. I'll work with Sarah on that if that's the direction, because it's existing equipment. But I agree, we should get some additional quotes just to make sure everything's in the ballpark. Making sure things are apples to apples is the big piece, and we'd likely have to tap into somebody else, maybe like Chris's group, to help with that, unless there's an expert on city council. I'm not an expert on camera technology, but that's the biggest thing that I fear is somebody coming in lowballing, and then we have to make it up, and it's the same for a less superior product over the license fee, something like that. So we have to look at it.
You'd have to compare apples.
We'd have to look at it all encompassing. Yep. So, but if that's the direction, we can start putting that together and then bring that to a future city council meeting.
I think we do. I mean, I think we owe it to the public because it's a big expenditure.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I think a lot of our residents would say, well, what, you just took this? I mean, so I think we do have to go out for bid and see what's out there and try, and maybe it won't be apples to apples, but then we can compare and see what we want. And then if we do go with your proposal, we can say, well, this is why we went with you. But I think we need a few more numbers. But this is very interesting, eye-opening. And I guess my recommendation is let's try and do this sooner than later. And then if we're going to do this, then we should do it this year and bond, you do an equipment certificate with our street project or water treatment plant if we can. And then maybe we can also wrap the lease issue or Milo thing.
The next thing we're gonna talk about, okay, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple unbudgeted items we're talking about
Yes,
tonight,
thank
so, we wanna make sure, it's okay to budget for these in 2026, but if the camera, we wanna make sure we have a contingency plan if the server goes down, and that costs money, and we might end up getting the same thing, but costing, it might cost more, it might be an emergency.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
sooner than
so
later.
we'll start working on it
We're gonna, and hopefully we can get it up and running for our new system, whatever that is, maybe by June or July.
I guess that's a question for you. If we go with you, what is the installation turnaround time getting up and running?
I have that, yes.
I think the same thing I just did.
No, it's not. I can follow it.
July might be a little aggressive, yeah, right? Fall.
So from equipment procurement,
Yeah.
from an equipment procurement standpoint, to getting on site, we're probably 10 weeks out. And then on site, this project, we are probably, I'm just gonna kind of ballpark this here. I would bet we're gonna be on site for 4 to 6 weeks. So finally, so for 10, 11 weeks out, let's say 17 weeks from approval to completion, probably.
And then if we bid, it's generally 3 weeks, 21 days.
Right.
So build that in and
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
August, September.
Yeah. we can put everything together. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so we should get a move on it then,
all right.
and maybe we'll see you back here. All right,
Anything else?
not yet, not yet. All right, thank you very much, really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Next time I won't take your spot.
All right, next we have, thank you. Milo training system.
Yeah, I'll, Mayor, City Council, I can introduce this a little bit, but this has been an ongoing, kind of brainstorming session that we've had. We've had a couple different touch points with the gun range discussion here since I've been here almost 3 years now. And we've kind of put that to bed and tasked Craig and Paul to come up with an idea of how we can utilize that space to train our officers in a pretty advanced way. Craig came up with the idea with this Milo. It's something that's been used in the law enforcement arena for quite some time. The space is also challenging for a Milo system, if you can imagine that too, as well as a gun range. So what we have presented, and this is kind of our best shot at what we can utilize that space for right now, is kind of a hybrid. I can share this a little bit now. I think we got the PowerPoint figured out. So, we don't really have much to present on this though, but in the packet, you can kind of see what's going on. But the Milo system would take up roughly about 1/3 of the space and the rest would be for storage. We'd have an access door on the storage side that the police could access from the parking garage, of which we could get a forklift in there and move things onto a pallet system, onto a shelving system. So that'd be ideal. They definitely need storage. Craig can definitely speak to this a little bit more. And then the Milo space would be configured after the construction. So there's a couple things going on. We received this public safety money, I believe in 2023.
Yeah, right at the end of
Right at the end of the year in 2023. We allocated roughly, Brian will know the numbers, but roughly half of it towards capital.
70,000 to capital, the other 200,000 to operation.
So we had 170,000. We've used some of that capital to purchase some things already. The current balance of that is about 116,000. The idea that's been presented in this is to do the construction work, which we've gotten one estimate at about 140,000. I'd say that's probably a pretty conservative estimate. I think we could probably get it down through various means to about 116. So, Craig can get into the details of the actual system, but for financing piece, we could look at using that public safety money to get the construction done, and then city council could decide if they want to proceed with the Milo system and the outfitting of the storage area with the shelving. We could attach that to an equipment certificate in 2022 with the water treatment plant, or 2020 or 2025 with the water treatment plant, or 2026 with the road project. So it's all about timing. These are big numbers, right? We're coming to you with just over $500,000 of unbudgeted expenditures. I don't generally like to do this. This is something that's been in the hopper. We kind of have this public safety money that we had an idea that we were going to do something. So this is the idea for that. So it's really, do you like that idea for that space? To me, there's a lot of value into occupying all the square footage at that facility. You get a really good training atmosphere for the officers, something that they don't have access to right now, really anywhere in the region, other than I think there's.
Maybe, Craig can
Yeah.
tell us, it'd be interesting to see what is the system and how does it work and how fun is it?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. You'd absolutely be invited on day one. And we love to get as many people through it, and not to get too far ahead of myself, but it would definitely be a good tool for the public to see what we did. Want to bring the public in, put them through some scenarios and whatnot. So, yeah, as Jasper had mentioned, we're very short on space. We're very, very grateful for our gym that took up our storage space. So now we're kind of shoving stuff into the shell of the gun range as it is now, but it's just doesn't look perfect. We can make it look a lot better. As for the gun range, it was a great idea. It's just not quite big enough to be a very viable gun range. And the gun range itself, years ago, we estimated it at $500,000. And with inflation, I can't even imagine what a range would be. And then your ongoing cost of, there's a lot of EPA stuff with lead, your HVAC's gotta be very advanced. And just the fact of ammunition being so expensive, even if we had a range, the amount of times we'd be able to use it would be pretty limited. So that's where Milo comes in, and really cool part about Milo is it's a range, and it's, you can set it up to do multi-ranges, but you can also set it up to do scenarios. So I kind of have some notes here, so I'm going all over the place, but right now our PD uses the Minnetrista Sportsman's Club. Great club, but the issue is we share it with 2 other police departments, and when we go shoot, we take the place over, which we feel bad for. It's not fair to the people who buy range passes there. So therefore, we only get a few days at that range. So, and then in wintertime, you're even more limited because, we do shoot in the winter, but not that often. So the beauty with Milo was what it is a HD system. There's 3 screens that are in a U shape. And it projects on HD these actors that act out over 1,000 different scenarios. They're up to 1,000 at this point. So you have an instructor sitting there, and the instructor can change how the actors behave based on the officer's actions. And the Milo itself is integrated with our pistols, with our chemical irritants, with our batons, with our flashlights. So anything you're grabbing on your belt, Milo is recognizing you now have a chemical irritant you're spraying it.
So do you actually spray it?
No, but it looks just like it. So all the equipment is exactly like what it can be.
Okay.
So you push the button.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because basically what it does is the beauty of it is situational awareness.
Yeah.
We've seen it before. When you're under pressure, getting stuff off your belt isn't the easiest thing to do. So the more you can train on that, the more under high stress environments, we can act more appropriately. So it's an interface system. They have 1,000 scenarios now, and each scenario can have multiple different outcomes. And then Milo sends out about 50 to 60 new scenarios every year free of charge. So we can constantly keep fresh with the scenario-based training. Of course, it's very cheap to use. We're just basically using electricity instead of actually ammunition, but it's very accurate. You know, the way we shoot there is going to be the way we shoot in the range. So it does fill that void that we don't have right now. There's obviously a large upfront cost, but after that, it becomes very economical for training. In most of the scenarios, I mean, to be fair, don't end in a shooting. You know, there's a shooting range. The scenario-based training is set, so we're not shooting. You know, we're doing everything we can to prevent that kind of encounter. The different scenarios can include mental health, de-escalation, juvenile interaction, inherent bias, school safety, and dozens of other different scenarios. And then when you go off the scenario training, you can go to the range training, and then that has multiple different scenarios too. Wind conditions, elevation, low light, high light, any kind of shooting scenario you can imagine, this thing can replicate. And so it really does more than even what we can do at a range here. The scenarios themselves Milo has a doctor of educational technology, and to create these scenarios, and then they partner with neuroscientists, behavioral experts, and then law enforcement experts too to come up with these scenarios.
I'm assuming they actually take the scenarios from maybe actual incidences, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real world scenarios.
So you guys have obviously requirements for your training and this meets that then doing this, even though you're not actually firing your weapon. So
That's a very good question. So we would still be going to the range for actual shooting. The post-sport does require that. But the post-sport requirements for actively shooting with live ammo are relatively minimal. We could do that easily in 1 or 2 shoots. This is more of a maintenance tool to keep our skills up. But that's a good question. And then, of course, once we get it set up and once we get well trained in the usage, we open it up to our other law enforcement partners. Probably be able to get revenue off of
And this isn't legally a range, right? So it doesn't, the 87A09 requirement to be open to the public doesn't apply?
that. No, this is not a range at all. No live ammo on premise. It's all based on lasers and electricity. So,
the Milo website looks like they have links for possible funding and grant options. We will be looking into applying for those if we go forward with this.
we can definitely reach out to our, we have 2 direct associates that are really awesome at getting back to me immediately. And yes,
It looks like they got links for a federal one, a U.S. Department of Justice one, and then a local law enforcement block grant.
Yeah. We'll reach out, we'll look at those, we'll see how viable they are. Likely we'll also have a conversation with the Crime Prevention Fund. They're like some of these projects, they did some work, obviously donated some money for the, well, it was kind of, yeah.
They didn't really donate money for this.
We won't get into detail. They donate for plenty of things, right? And we'll see if they're interested in this one.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll yeah, that'd be great. But we'll look into those definitely. And that's, the construction piece is important, I think, because construction costs are going up
Right.
every month we wait,
Every
generally.
week.
I mean, it's going to be more expensive if we wait. We have the money right now. We could do it right now.
So to that point, in the packet, it's got the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Which side is the hallway that I walked in on to look at the gun range?
Left
That's the
side.
diagram. The part with the control on the electrical panel, that's the
Yes.
hallway access?
Yep. So there's an entry, kind of a mezzanine door that you go into before you get into the actual range area.
And then so the new double doors outside?
Those would go into the parking garage. Yep. And they'll be big. They would be big enough to. It might not be double doors. It might be a garage door style thing, but
Okay, so it's easy access.
yeah, and it'll be big enough to get a forklift in there.
Okay.
So.
Let's see, I didn't see the size. What is the
range look like?
what is it, 10 feet wide, 12 feet wide?
for the Milo itself, it requires.
No, I'm saying
No,
the space, the room.
for the roof itself.
I'm just curious.
Let's say it's around 15 or 16 feet. I know the Milo system fits in there by like an inch on both sides.
Literally, we're squeezed in.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
it's around just over 60 feet
okay.
on each side, and requires about around 20 feet in length.
Okay.
Because the projectors have to, spread out on the screen.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would say, get some bids for the project, for the construction part. And then, at the same time, maybe, look into some grant funding from these other sources, including talking to the, crime prevention fund group, and then see what we come up with.
So proceed with quotes for the construction piece.
Right.
Because it's under 175. I think we can get it under 120. So quotes for that. Work on some outside funding for the Milo system. See what we can shake out for that. Are we thinking about construction in 25? Construction.
Yeah, I think so. We have it there, and if we can come in close to that 116, I think we should do it in 25. And then we'll be ready. Let's just say we could get it done in 25, and then if we're ready and we want to even do the Milo in 25, along with the security, that's what I'm thinking. Then you bundle those together into a equipment certificate payable in 26.
So have it structured so that you maybe pay an interest only payment in 25. Depending on when it's issued, you might not even have to do that. You might just have a larger payment in 26. We'd have to work on it.
Come back with some options for that.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need the security, the camera stuff, and then the security stuff, that we need that sooner than later. So it sounds like that really has to get done this year. Well, if we're gonna do, let's just say a $260,000 security thing, then you might as well add another 100,000 or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying, for the equipment certificate, it's not gonna make that big of a difference.
Yeah. Probably just the council's expectations, it's gotta be that there probably would be a $400,000 to $500,000 equipment certificate, maybe both in 25 and 20, because otherwise they won't have squads, or they won't have gear, you won't have equipment, or, we don't have our levy up.
In 26, we had a huge
Uh,
equipment.
Well, you'll have to, yeah.
We'll have to look at that with the budget process, but 25, we have some.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying these two items
Oh, yeah.
here would even just be, we don't have 400,000 sitting in our capital fund that just,
No, they have to be equipment.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But then once we get into the 26 budget process, unless we really go thin for equipment and stuff in 26, we're gonna potentially be looking at the same. So we only have a $200,000 cash levy in our CIP. It'd be nice to build that up higher, but there's been
Right.
other priorities, so roads and other.
And yeah, so you have to go a little thin for 1 year on something else, we might have to do it. So Gary will get his cameras for the water treatment plant and structure tower. Everybody gets a little something.
Well,
All right.
we'll work on this, and along with the camera system, we'll try to get this moving. I think we have 2 contractors looking at it right now. And I'm not sure if we got a quote from the second contractor yet, Craig?
Yeah, we did, last week when I was out of town, it was higher.
Okay. So we'll have to develop a quote package of some sort and get it to them officially and have them give us official quotes instead of just ballparks. We just wanted a budget number. That's kind of what we told them. And so
Okay.
we'll proceed and move forward with that.
Okay. Sounds good. So next we have street projects for 2026. I think that's Gary or Allison.
Madam Mayor, I'll take this if you don't mind. So Mayor and Council, at the strategic planning session back in February, there was discussion about a bonding project for 2026. And council's direction at that time was a budget of $4 million. So Gary and I went back and took a look at the areas that we had originally been looking at, and pared it down to three areas that are included in the packet. North and South Saunders, which would be just over 1.3 million. The majority of that would be a mill and overlay. The cores are showing some full depth removal and replacement of a few roads there. And if council is amenable to including this as a project, we'd like to get some more cores out there just
to understand the extent of that full depth removal rather than making assumptions. That would be our recommendation. The second area is Lakeside Drive, Lakeside Circle, and Pinnacle Way. That area would be a 2-inch mill and overlay. And then the third area is Game Farm Road with a mill and overlay and some full depth. It says reclamation, but I believe it's full depth removal and replacement with a budget of 2.76 million. So adding all those up, we are over 4 million. However, an option to consider for Game Farm Road is to designate a portion of Game Farm Road from County Road 110 to Blair, and then Blair as state aid routes. And then there's a minor typo on the first page of the memo. State aid funds could be used for a portion of Game Farm Road. It would be that portion that's designated as state aid route.
But is that the 938?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that would just be that portion, right?
Correct. And so we offer that as an option for council to consider so that you would deduct that 900,000, so we'd still be under that $4 million cap that the council discussed. So I included on the second page of the packet just some of the considerations when it comes to designating state aid routes. From all indications, we have enough mileage to go and designate those roads. We have construction funds available to cover that portion of Game Farm Road. We had some preliminary discussions with a staff member at State Aid to look at that portion of Game Farm Road. There are a couple different options we were looking at for designation, and this individual thought that this would be a good option to present. We took like the real high level approach looking at there's state aid design requirements, and I don't want to bore the council with details, but basically you can't have too much vertical curves and horizontal curves.
They might be changing that. They're looking at possibly easing up on some of their standards. And
Yes.
please do that because it really, really hurts us. I mean,
It certainly does. But preliminary looks at this, we have some curves, some vertical and horizontal curves on that section of Game Farm Road, but it didn't look like it would be anything that would stray from the state aid design requirements. So we wanted to bring this forward to council for discussion, see if you're comfortable with those three areas, and looking at designating Game Farm, a portion of Game Farm and Blair as state aid routes. And from a timing standpoint, how this plays in is there needs to be a council resolution to state aid by May 1st to request new routes on that system. So we wanted to have that conversation with council to see if that's something you'd like to do. And then just as a matter of bookkeeping, so to speak, Blair Road would have to be redesignated from a local road to a collector road.
Right. It wouldn't really change the use of it. It's just basically changing the name of it. It's only because it's connecting Sunnyfield to a game. So
correct.
Yeah.
And I had some preliminary conversations with David Abel last week about any planning implications on it. We really didn't see anything. There was, the right of way width requirement is higher for a collector road. But we're so far out on anything ever happening on Blair Road that, I don't see that impinging on any.
What is the right of way width there? Do you know?
It's 66 currently, and it can be for collector roads that are 180.
Oh, it is 80.
For our standards. So
I thought it was 66.
I don't have my notes in front of me. We can certainly, if council wants to pursue this,
Yeah,
we'll bring all that information forward so that there's a full understanding of what that would entail.
Well, my only concern is, so if it is 80, and I thought it was 66. Okay. And we designate it now as a collector, do we then have to take that right of way at this time?
No, at this time, no. But the 80-foot right of way was through city code. So
We could change that.
You could certainly change that. You could grant a variance. There are certain options that the council would have at their disposal for that, but designation of a collector road in this instance doesn't mean that the city council has to go out and get that additional right of way if the current right of way doesn't meet the city standard for that road.
But, and MinDOT doesn't require 80.
Not that I'm aware of. The MinDOT requirements that I'm aware of have to do with the curves
And
yeah, and the slopes, how steep the slopes can be going off the roadway, that sort of thing. I'm not aware of a right-of-way requirement from MinDOT.
So what's different? I mean, in 2010, that was a big challenge. We were gonna need like 3 or 4 state aid variances. I don't know if the mayor remembers
That
that.
was on
So-
the
whole route though.
So this is part is for sure fine, okay.
This part doesn't have those curves. So if you look at that map, one of the issues was along the lake. And there's a big curve
Yeah.
along the lake. And then there were also some grading issues. And with that, we just couldn't meet it. I mean, it was just going to be astronomical because we'd have to do all this, well, kind of like North Arm. And so then we decided to do it without state aid funds. And so we took it off of our state aid road, of our road. So, but if we can put this section back
Yeah.
in, it doesn't have big, huge curves. So we should be able to meet those standards. And it doesn't go up and down in that section. So it should be.
So this section wasn't one of, I remember it was like 3 or 4 spots last time around that they red flagged us and they're like, we thought we could get variances and we couldn't, and then it would have been, yeah.
Right, so this should work. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, no, as long as it does,
They
that's
allow
good.
us to do a portion of the road. Now, in the past, they haven't.
Okay.
So Allison, in the past, they have not allowed us to do just a portion of the road. So,
So the difference here, Mayor, is you can do a portion of the road because the rules are you have to connect to another state aid route. And that's where we add the layer in, because Sunnyfield's already a state aid route.
right,
And so we would be splitting Game Farm Road, we wouldn't be designating the whole Game Farm Road. And you can see in the, would be the lower left-hand corner,
right.
you can see where you get like right angles on Game Farm Road. Those are the horizontal curves that would not meet state aid requirements to the mayor's recollection.
And just looking at it with those curves that are on the right side, in the purple, they meet state aid standards.
We were looking at that preliminarily, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll do a deeper dive, but I wanted to do a pulse check with the council, see if that's palatable. And then we'll go through this with a fine tooth comb, continue that conversation with state aid staff. And then if council is amenable to adding this as a state aid route, we'll be bringing that paperwork forward to you within a month.
In April, right.
And there's no downside to adding it other than the requirements, because the road already meets the requirements. Like, it's not North Arm to change it or do anything, so there's no downside.
No, and in fact, the city has state aid mileage available, meaning that, you generate needs with the,
And we should try and max out our state aid miles because then we get more dollars too.
Yeah.
So,
and state aid is taking a look at, they don't want to see miles going on the state aid system just for the sake of generating those needs. But certainly when you look at Game Farm Road, particularly next to the school, there's a high volume of traffic on that. So I think we have a really good case in that situation. And again, because we were having those preliminary discussions with state aid staff, they thought that their first reaction was, well, this is probably a good option to pursue.
yeah, let's do that. My only question, in the write-up, you said that the reclamation would be from County Road 110 to where that, just before Blair. But I think the first section of the road would just be mill and overlay, then it's reclamation, then it's mill and overlay.
If we have the state aid dollars, why wouldn't we just do it all at once?
Because it would be nice to keep our state aid dollars as much as we can to use for other roads.
Aren't we running out of roads to use now?
We have Hunter's Crest coming up, that's gonna be expensive.
But not all of them trust is state aid.
Hunter's Trail, but Hunter's Trail is gonna be what, 1.4, 1.5 million probably?
Oh, I can't remember what we just did. We just went through with the first half of Hunter's Trail. If you look at, in the council packet, if we assume we get the same allocation for construction next year, our state aid fund balance would be about 1.9 million. And if we use the state aid funds for County Road 110 to Blair, we're just under a million, about 968,000. So we would be getting that state aid construction fund balance down to about $1 million. And I think that would be Once you add in Hunter's Trail there, we would get that construction fund balance down. And it's,
You're capped as well. I don't know what the cap is currently. It used to be 1.6, but I think it may be higher now.
yeah, so the state, this last year, I talked to the district state aid engineer about the cap, and they changed it. It used to be like 2 or 2.5 times your annual allocation. Now they capped it at, I have it in my notes,
Well,
but
and cap's not the right way to say, it. You lose like $1,000 or
Yeah.
something. I mean, so not to
No,
think
it
that,
was a little bit more. I think it
well,
was
yeah, I know.
5,000 or 10,000.
it's not much. I mean, you still get 450 out of your 460 or something, yeah. I mean, so, but I just didn't want it, it's not capped, like at a hard 1.6, it stops, like, so,
You're right.
yeah.
$400,000+, right?
You're going to be,
$450, whatever it is. And if we do more of this roads, we don't have to worry about it longer. When are we keep pushing Hunters farther down, so will we build up the 900, fairly quickly in by the time we do it? Because we're not gonna do Hunters in 2 years now. We just talked about pushing it farther down the road.
yeah, but we have other ones that we could be doing.
yeah, so the last map included is the city's current state aid route with some notes on it. So you can see Hunter's Trail, the remainder of Hunter's Trail, that's one that we've been looking at. Highland will get in here at some point, probably.
That'll need that mill and overlay.
Overlay probably, and it's not within our current horizon of 4 years or so, but it'll creep back on there. So we certainly have that, and then we also have our eye on that section of Halsted that we did that mill and overlay on, back in 2020. I think it was, as a marker. Let's see what we can do there. And it's performing very well, knock on wood. So we hope that continues. But, so we're certainly keeping our eye on some of these things, some of these roads as they start to age.
Plus, we have West Branch, the entire length that could be upgraded. We have Sunnyfield that could be upgraded. And now if Blair is added, we could do Blair. I mean, there's other roads that we could do.
We just did some.
Only a certain portion of it, the rest is all still gravel. So,
Yeah, but that has that hard right corner too, right? That's why we didn't keep going, to fix that corner.
but it could go all the way up to Blair. So, I mean, there's other things we can use the money for too. Plus, the other thing, I've been asking staff about is, can we allocate any of the 400,000 that we have towards the payment of Halsted, the Halsted bond, and I know you've looked into that.
I'm still waiting to hear back
Okay.
from them because I got one answer back from state aid. We got an answer back from Ellers saying,
Yeah.
and so I came back to state aid
Yeah.
and I haven't heard back from it. So
I would almost recommend just spending it on construction projects. I mean, we've already got that portion for,
I'm just saying, if we don't have any construction projects or we're not, using it all, maybe that might be another option.
Because then we can use those dollars to add into our road fund.
potentially.
I think, yeah, we're gonna spend the money either way.
Right.
One way or another. So however we want to allocate it, we can. If that's an option, we can evaluate it.
Right. And again, just putting it on the table for a thought and possible options.
So, staff's looking for council direction. If you agree with our recommendations, we bring forward a proposal to get started on some of this work, or if there's something that council would like to see staff come back with, we can certainly do that.
So go for the state aid designation, and we're okay with it'll be around 3.4 million.
Somewhere in that neighborhood based on our budget, yeah, for local funds.
And we would be doing that.
So how are we doing in terms of overall debt?
It's going up, yeah. I think at the end of '24, we were at just under 25 million, in total, water, roads, facilities, everything. So depending on, we could almost potentially be looking at doubling that, close to 20 to 25 million. I mean, the only good thing about this is that the tax levy impact, I guess, would hit in 27. Because in my mind, I'm going, well, we're already doing all these equipment things we talked about earlier in the night, and we've got operational stuff, and there's the levy already in 2026 at 10% or
I
something.
know, that's what I'm thinking.
So that's, I mean, the road project wouldn't kick in till 27, the debt payment, but it's obviously it's already a starting
No,
point
but
for
I think-
27. I mean,
But I think we're gonna have to be looking out ahead, because I don't think we can keep bonding $4, $5, $8 million every year, every other year. So we have to keep that in mind, because I just think, and I don't know when some of the equipment certificates fall off. I think some do fall off next year, don't they?
yeah, the 2021 will fall off, I guess, in the 25 or 6, I guess, yeah. So, I mean, but those help, but I mean, really, those are still even 80,000, 100,000.
No, that's what I was thinking, around 80 or 100, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about this? What do I do? Just cancel. All right. IT problems. All right. Any other comments, questions, discussion?
How much of this is going to be potentially, some of this might be accessible, or,
Just that portion that's gonna be the reclamation project.
okay,
Well,
so,
and the full depth removal in North and South Saunders.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Are we gonna assess those people or see we didn't on Turtle Creek?
Yeah, and Mayor and Councilmember Rockin, that's why we like to go and get some additional cores so that we would know the extent of some of the full depth removal and replacement, particularly in North Saunders. If we're at a worst case scenario, because just where the cores lay, there was no way to say, well, this was done in certain phases, so we can assume that the full depth removal ends here, it was all done at once. So we want to get some additional information, because if what's shown on the maps here is a worst case scenario, and you can see that there's a good section of North Saunders that's full depth removal and replacement. And that would certainly be part of the council discussion when doing this. Actually, we want both North and South Saunders. We have the west side of Saunders Lake Drive North. We have, one entire street in South Saunders. So that would be a policy discussion.
Because I'm thinking if so this is just a thought. If you have a project like this and it's a neighborhood, but not the whole neighborhood gets a reclamation, I'm kind of thinking, couldn't you combine the projects, the reclamation and overlay, and then just assess everybody? Because I don't think it's fair to just assess people on one or two roads and then everybody else gets, because a lot of these roads, everybody uses anyway.
It's really good, the roads are really bad. I mean, well, main bigger road isn't.
So if you look at North Saunders, so the Saunders Lake Drive North, where it's showing full depth removal and replacement, core was taken on the north end of that, and it's where there's a wetland on each side of the road. So I don't know if it's just, is it a couple hundred feet of the road, or is it the entire length? We're showing the worst case scenario on these maps and in the budget. But that's why we want to get some more cores. So my recommendation would be that when we come in with a proposal, we can take a look at getting some additional cores through here, so we can really narrow down where that full depth removal and replacement is. Then in the interim, as we go through the project, find out what the extent of that full depth removal and replacement is, and see what the council's feedback is as far as, do you want to make this a 429 project, or do you, are you similar to what?
Well, I think we do a 429, then I think it has to be everybody in that neighborhood versus just, we can't just single out, 12 or 13 homes. I don't think that would be fair. And if it is the whole neighborhood, then the assessments are going to be minimal. I mean, they're going to be 2,000-3,000 or something like that. It's not going to be that much.
Yep. And that's the advantage of talking about this here in March and then trying to get this narrowed down in April, is If this portion of the project turns into a 429 project, we still have time to get that feasibility component going. The other part too is on Game Farm Road, there was some discussion about assessing for the project costs that are adjacent to that full depth removal and replacement on how it kind of went back to that 2015 project, and those folks wanted to keep that section of road out of the project. So there was 9 properties adjacent to that section. Well, that's good. So the purple section there, back in
It's like 1, 2, 3, well, you're not gonna count the ones on Sunnybrook, but then there's the city, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe.
Actually, on both sides, so there's only 9, I think, technically.
Okay,
That's what we counted, but
okay.
those weren't assessed because they didn't want,
Right.
what they were left off the
Mhm.
original project list when they redid. The part was already paid, but,
Right.
so they were never assessed, but should be for this project.
We gotta stop letting people opt out of projects.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, those would be assessed, so.
So we'd have a component of, a 429 component to this project anyway, and so it would just be a matter of getting a little bit more pavement investigation in North and South Saunders to find out if the 429 process would apply to that project. So, more to come on.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Gary, are you happy now? Come on, you're getting better streets. All right. Anything else then? Otherwise, we can be adjourned and reconvene at 7 o'clock. So moved. So moved. Is there a second? Thank you. Kathleen made that motion and Ryan seconded. All those in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes 3-0. See you at 7.
Shocked and check.
Yeah.
We would have said no, bright, and then Gary would have